LifeLock.com. Use the promo code Beckett, LifeLock.com.
If you want unlimited talk, text, and data on a crazy fast network, Big Wireless will sell it to you right now for as little as $70 a month. Or you can buy it from Pure Talk for half of that. I'm talking about unlimited talk, text, and unlimited data for just $34.99 a month. Stop paying the big guys twice what you need to. Dial pound 250, say my name. That's pound 250, micro, to switch to Pure Talk, where the savings are truly unlimited.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this hour of the Shaun Thompson Show is sponsored exclusively by DonleyAuctions.com. They need your guns. Sell for top dollar. DonleyAuctions.com.
From the streets of Melrose Park to the trading floor of the Merc, he's fought for every dollar he's ever earned. And now, with personal liberty and our system of capitalism under assault in America, he's here to seize back our rights from the government. With a cigar in one hand and a copy of the Declaration of Independence in the other, he's Shaun Thompson. And this is the Shaun Thompson Show.
Some folks are born made to wave the flag. Ooh, they're red, white, and blue.
My next guest is a very, very interesting man. Graduate of Mercer University Law School in Georgia, business owner, entrepreneur, worked as a journalist and a reporter in Macon and Atlanta. He ran as the Republican candidate to be Georgia's Attorney General in 2022. He was endorsed by Donald Trump. And the shenanigans of Fulton County in Georgia, specifically the Democrat areas, really rival Chicago and Crook County. John Gordon is now the host of the syndicated radio show, The Truth with John Gordon. John, how are you?
Fantastic, Shaun. Hope you are.
I am. You know, I have to tell you, I felt this way my entire life growing up in a once great city, but it was always an underbelly of scoundrels and scumbags. You call them Democrats in America, but we know them as short in the pants mafia. And it's a fascinating reality to see how they bragged about stealing the election from 1960 and then wanted you to believe in the election results they gave you since then. I believe it is impossible for Democrat-controlled areas to ever give you honest election results. How do you feel about it?
Like you do. I think the adjectives really have morphed, and we've gone through a period of dishonesty. We've gone through a period of hypocrisy. And now I just think we're in a period of absolute lunacy. I think these people are out of their minds, and it is concerning.
You know, John, it's a fascinating reality, and thankfully I'm blessed, and I don't know how old you are, but I'm blessed to be from a time where there was right and there was wrong. It didn't really matter what party somebody was with. If you cheated somebody, you were a scumbag, a scoundrel, and there were going to be consequences. What I love about now is that it's undeniable to watch not one elected Democrat is outraged of the money that is stolen through Medicare, Medicaid, social services, rent scams, government policy scams. This is truly, if you just step back and look at it, that's the tell, in the old gambler expression, of the scoundrel, of the scumbag. How could it be that out of all the Democrats in Congress and Senate, not one of them is upset at the Somalians that steal money, at the Bhutans now that steal money, at the temporary protected statuses or the illegal aliens that steal money from California to New York? That's really amazing in its totality of acceptance of corruption, isn't it?
Well, I think it just reflects the fact that my belief is they're in on it. They are the beneficiaries of the fraud. And it may come to them back through campaign contributions or some other form. I'm not sure. But Gavin Newsom had the audacity to infer that Nick Shirley was some sort of a pedophile, putting a meme up having Nick Shirley saying, "Where are the children? Where are the little boys?" I mean, it is just disgusting to me. And it really makes you very concerned about our future and for our kids and our grandkids. And so that's why I do what I do. I'm doing what one lone person can do to help save our republic.
Well, it's interesting where you're from, where what Georgia really represents. And I say this to you with some surface knowledge, but some knowledge because I have a relative who worked for a very big Chicago, a company that had its original base in Chicago. They have since moved to Atlanta. And years ago, thankfully, he was asked to move to Georgia. He ended up settling in Alpharetta, which is absolutely gorgeous. So been back and forth and back and forth. And he used to live in an unincorporated area, but Fulton County was so bankrupt and so desperate that it had annexed this particular county, this section of Alpharetta. And to watch the similarities of corruption, of acceptance of corruption, it's fascinating to see Georgia, which is a hub of business, of decent living, yet it has that cancer of corruption in these very specific Democrat-controlled areas. These were the areas that were essential in stealing the 2020 election. And I'm wondering, when you step back and you look at this all, this is the angst in our society, because inherently people knew that that election was being stolen in these Democrat enclaves. But yet you walk around and you expect different results in California. You know it's going to be the same thing. They're concocting and stealing elections right now. So at a certain point, being a lawyer, somebody who is an officer of the court, somebody who loves the law, what is the recourse of the honest, decent American who doesn't want to go to war? They just don't want to deal with the acceptance of crime and corruption of the Democrat Party because, by the way, the constituents who are still dumb enough or of low character enough to be Democrats, they're not repulsed by the stealing either.
Well, I think we all have a role in it, frankly. And I ran a campaign for governor in 1983, and we had a consultant named Matt Reese, who was a very well-known, very well-respected political consultant. And he said to me one day, he said, John, the most difficult challenge we have is that politics and government is somewhere around 8, 9, or 10 on people's list of priorities. They've got their spouse, their children, their job, their friends, their religion, their recreation, and politics just falls kind of to the bottom of the list. And I think that there's a real danger in that. I think we all have an obligation to be activists. And if we're going to change things, it really does start with each one of us, which is why I volunteered for 3 years to work on a lawsuit against the Fulton Board of Elections, Satir Purdue versus the Fulton Board of Elections. I've seen the fraud. I've talked to the witnesses. I've played devil's advocate with the forensic accountants. There is zero doubt in my mind that Georgia was stolen in 2020. Brad Raffensperger finally is exiting stage left because he got his butt kicked in the primary. He had the audacity to think that he could be viable as a candidate for governor. The fact is he can't finish a speech in front of Republicans without getting booed off the stage. So something very sinister is afoot, and I do worry about it. I think it's beyond political gamesmanship at this point. I don't know if it's foreign interference or if it is bad people that have such a lust for power, they're willing to destroy our country in the process.
Well, this all comes. Here's the beauty. One of the beauties, aside from a well-developed palate for pizza, one of the beauties of being from Chicago is that is the communist mafia, because that's what it is. It's not an ideology of communism. There's no purity. Because ultimately we now know communism is a scam and a fraud and a lie. It's the mafia control of life. And, it's funny when you said, people, you're right, by the way, the way in which Americans view politics, but that's the wrong way, because politics is in control of all of those other things you think are more important to you. Politics is everything. And there is no government. We in America were just born into liberty. But there's only people that make this up. There's the virtue shield of an occupation. Ultimately, when you look at what politics has become, aside from intrusive in every aspect, I really feel that they've backdoor nationalized the life of every American. When you look at the acceptance, whether it's ignorance, willing stupidity, or just spoiled brat, I'm free and I'm an American, you look at these policies, I have to tell you, and this is why I left Chicago, this is why I left Illinois. I can't think of one area in politics today that is not a Soviet government top-down controlled system. I don't care if you're opening up a retail store or if you're working for somebody who does. You have been backdoor cast into slavery if you don't fight against it. And then you look at the 11 states that make up the boom belt, 70% of the GDP growth, 70% of the real economy. It's undeniable. This should be an easy argument for us to win, shouldn't it?
Yes, but it does require an awakening of the populace, and it does require the average person to do as you implore, that you've got to be involved and you've got to be willing to make it part of your life, that you're going to be involved in civic duty. And so it doesn't have to be all consuming. If everyone within the sound of your voice right now would resolve to donate an hour a month of their time times the 200, 300 million Americans, we could have a much different country. But government is infected in every aspect of our lives. Yes. And it has grown into a monster that has to be tamed.
And, when you look at what's happening before our eyes, it is the inevitable failure of these policies, right? The inevitable corruption of these so-called experts in government. And when you look at what is happening in Georgia, and you look at what's happening in California, but let's for a minute just focus on Georgia, because it's my favorite example of arrogance and stupidity mixed together in Fulton County and in some of these other areas. And you now see that judge, that Democrat female judge who was banging the copper in the halls. When you look at the example of those two sloths that were used as weapons against Rudy Giuliani, and you look at the bastardization of law of Rudy Giuliani, I mean, I think that right there is the greatest case to use as an example, because if they can use lawfare and corrupt judges and corrupt attorneys to railroad Rudy Giuliani, who broke up the mafia in New York, who became America's mayor in 9/11, who represented everything righteous and really the architect and the greatest example of using the RICO Act against organized crime. And you let these two mother and daughter election-stealing sloths bankrupt him and take his jewelry and his convertible. Isn't that the best way to push back? I mean, after all, as a lawyer, have you ever seen a better example of judicial weaponization than that specific case? He couldn't appeal. He couldn't present a defense. That's a railroad job, isn't it?
I have a friend who is best friends with Mayor Giuliani, and he took me over to visit with the mayor a couple of years ago, and we were going to have a cup of coffee for 20 minutes, and we spent 2 hours and 20 minutes. I wrote him a donation, the largest donation I've ever made to anyone outside of my family, for the very reasons that you state. It is apocryphal, it is shameful, and the fact that these people were able to get away with it and then get a Presidential Medal of Freedom, you've got to be kidding me.
I mean, it represents, when you look at this and you look at what we've lived through, from Biden, Obama, and the stealing of the money, the trillions and trillions, and then they have the balls to give themselves awards. I have to tell you, between that and Paul Krugman yesterday saying that we have to put anybody who is MAGA in camps, they're really provoking something we are not inclined to do. They're provoking and stoking anger when it doesn't have to be. Our law in this country is supposed to stop this, isn't it?
Well, yes, and I think I have said for 4 years on my radio show, The Truth with John Gordon, that this federal government is rotten to its core. And we have got a cancer inside of the federal government that is inhabited by very bad people. And I think they're behind a lot of the evilness that we've seen, starting with the assassination of the 35th president of the United States in the most callous, horrible way I could ever imagine. Not that there would be a good way, but just the fact that they did it with his wife sitting next to him and little children watching from the sidewalk. It's just the most demonic thing I've ever seen, but it doesn't stop. I mean, we've got so much evidence of continued bad behavior like that. We can talk about Epstein. We can talk about Building 7. What happened? Who tried to kill Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania, and who did kill Charlie Kirk? But because it sure as hell wasn't Tyler Robinson with a 30-06 that didn't leave an exit wound or inflict trauma to the back of Charlie's head.
Well, what's interesting about the forever bureaucracy is that no matter how many scandals the evidence points to, and you could go back, listen, I'm a big let's dig old man George Bush up and throw him in a garbage can, because a lot of it stems back to that.
I'll bring the shovel.
I mean, that's what it is. And you look at the illusion of our republic and this ultimate choice of the duopoly of corruption. Heads they win, tails we lose. And you look at the way in which Bill Clinton was crafted and protected and adopted by old man Bush. What he really represents isn't just a family of control oligarchs, which the Bush family is. He represents a nefarious leviathan that is maybe referred to as the deep state. That's not good enough. What it really is the mechanism that has controlled the trillions of dollars, the ultimate decisions, and been held harmless when it comes to the scandals of drug dealing, when it comes to the scandal of targeted assassinations. And when you look at the Bush family and you look at the two brothers, who most people don't realize, they are at the root of a tremendous amount of these problems, along with Jeb Bush. And who stopped it but a developer from New York who used to pay the Democrats? And yet, through media, you ask the average moron who doesn't pay attention, they think he's the bad guy. It's really all because the government forever bureaucracy controls the flow of information that you see on the boob tube and that you read on the internet. But we are winning as shows like yours and shows like mine. They're gaining a foothold among young people. I still say right now is the best time we've ever pushed back against it since World War II. So there is a reason to be optimistic, isn't there?
You took the words directly out of my mouth. That's exactly where I was going next, because there have been I did a segment on my show last week asking, are you tired of winning yet? Because we really are starting to win, just like Trump promised us that we would.
Of course we are.
And you've got young people that are flocking back to the church. You've got 77 million people who voted for Donald Trump, which was a staggering number. I wonder where Biden's 80 million votes went to. Oh, well, anyway.
81.
81 million. What a joke. I mean,
Yeah.
It's just they play us for fools, like we're going to believe that. But then we've got the Supreme Court that's really standing up. The Calais decision in Louisiana may be one of the most important decisions that has come down in the last decade, deciding that gerrymandering based on race is no longer a legitimate way to district.
No kidding. They
That is
decided
going to have
racism is
profound
illegal.
influence.
Yes, it's going to be fantastic. And you know what else I love? I love the fact that what Trump really represents, whether they talk about it or not, is not just a third party, but it is, right? Make America Great Again. America First is a complete movement. It is not a Republican Party movement. It is not a Democrat Party movement. But it is an example of what people who made their living outside of politics can do with their first job in politics. Whether we discuss what Donald Trump has done, which is fantastic, Scott Bessent, who is the stereotypical target of the Democrat Party, or when you talk about what Linda McMahon has done to the National Department of Education, which was sworn to be ripped out since Ronald Reagan was making speeches. And now what I love is this Pulte and how they're going to put him in charge of all of these bureaucracies. You know as well as I do, he has the same orders Linda McMahon does. Tear it down. And that's the only way we can have a prosperous future, is if the CIA is immediately neutered and torn asunder, along with all the other three-letter agencies. Do you feel that he's exactly what needs to be done? Because Pulte doesn't give a rip. He's been outing them since he got the job, since before he got the job. I think he's going to tear it apart. Do you?
I don't know. I'm hopeful, yes, but I think losing Tulsi Gabbard was a huge loss for us. I'm still reeling from it, and I'm very concerned about her husband's health. I've prayed for her and her husband and their family. But I just don't know that, she couldn't have carried 2 buckets of water and remained in that position. It was just about 10 days before she left that the CIA entered her office and confiscated documents that she was in the process of declassifying. I'm sorry. I don't question that her husband's sick, but I do smell a rat in her having left office, and it's a big loss, I think.
No, it's a tremendous loss that he never got credit for anyway. Since the founding of the country, you know this, you're a lawyer. But the way the country was supposed to work is that the loser of the presidential election was supposed to be the vice president. It was never supposed to be this fluidity of party control and the rest of it. It was supposed to be fighting, but never has a presidential candidate put 2 former candidates from the opposite party in charge of major departments the way Trump did. He received no credit for it. But do you think that it is that nefarious, or that it may be on face value, he does have cancer, and she's not gone, she's sidelined? Or do you think that she is gone, and it is because there is a nefarious control of the forever bureaucracy once again flexing its muscle to intimidate and outlive the current administration?
Either theory is plausible. I lean towards the latter because of anyone in the administration that was really having an impact on getting the deep state tamed, first outed and then tamed. I think you would have to say it was Tulsi Gabbard. So
Don't you wish we could just go to a parking lot like the old days and kick the dung out of them? I'm so sick of this forever bureaucracy, these nameless scumbags. And you look at them. Take a look at them when they run them for office. They're all lipless communist cuckolds. Anyway, I'm so sick and tired of the CIA. I really want it disbanded.
Well, I share your frustration and your aggravation. I have maintained that we don't have to destroy it to get meaningful reform. We just need to identify and cut out the cancer that is lying within it. And to me, it's undeniable. And I do think that we've another cause for optimism. John Brennan is subject to a grand jury investigation an hour north of where I'm sitting. And Comey and Clapper are going to be brought in, maybe Obama himself. And I think that we have the potential to unravel the deep state in this grand jury investigation because Brennan, Clapper, and Comey are just bad. They are dirty.
Oh,
I'd love to see Christopher Wray have his time in the barrel as well.
Well, you know what's
amazing? He lied to us.
Of course he did. How about when he wanted to take the private jet to go join his wife on vacation in the Adirondacks? That's a quarter of offensive as Barack Obama and the entire legacy. Chicago
he walked out of a congressional hearing to do it. Said he had an important matter to attend to. His important matter was vacation.
Yeah, my wife's got the credit card. She's on vacation. I got to stop her. What's fascinating, too, is Barack Obama. Not that he just sold Bigfoot as a beautiful woman, but that he's from Chicago. He doesn't know the bulls from his ass. He grew up in Indonesia as Lolo Sutoro, as his stepson, the number 2 richest guy in Indonesia and an asset of the CIA in the Indonesian takeover when the military. He was the colonel in the military. And the fact that everybody bought that bull dung. Yeah, he's from Chicago. I'm telling you, it's amazing to watch how stupid people are. However, there's a secession afoot because if that is happening an hour north of you, that means you're in Florida. So did you leave
that
Georgia?
Is correct. I'm sitting here right now looking out over the Intercoastal Waterway and the tower of Mar-a-Lago and the U.S. flag.
All right.
So
well, I'm across the state from you.
I have the privilege of being Donald Trump's neighbor.
I love it. And Rudy.
And Rudy, that's right. Just 2 miles away.
This is good news. This is good. Well, I have to say, I love the fact of what you've done. I love the history, and I love that you stand for the truth, which is the name of the podcast, The Truth with John Gordon. And it's been fun. So I really hope we do this again because it's going to take all of us, and it's going to take the unwavering, never give quarter to the cuckold communist, which should be the name of your next book. I love it. I won't sue you because you're a lawyer. Thank you. Thank you for making time for me.
Thank you, Shaun. That's been fun, and I'm so happy to find a kindred spirit.
I appreciate it. Can't wait to meet you in person. You take care of yourself. We'll be back with your calls and comments.
This is the Shaun Thompson Show on AM 560. The Answer.
With so much financial uncertainty, are you wondering if your retirement savings will last? The market ups and downs can keep you guessing, especially if you're approaching retirement or considering it. Hi, I'm Edward Jones financial advisor Nolan Webster. If you have more questions than answers about what's next, let's work together to help ensure you're prepared for your journey. After all, retirement isn't the end of the trek, it's the new beginning. Stop by our office in Palatine or call 224-801-6107. That's 224-801-6107. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Every morning, students and faculty fill your school's hallways. And every morning, parents trust you to know who's there with them. With ID Supply, that trust is earned and visible. From student and staff ID cards to secure visitor badge systems, ID Supply helps you instantly identify who